All right, everybody, this is Kit Osborne, and you're listening to Uncorked with Kit, part 2 of my conversation with XPW owner Rob Black. And in this episode, we discuss fucking prison. From his indictment all the way up until his release and everything after. That's what we talk about. And it's enlightening. It's interesting. There's funny parts. There's terrifying parts. And everything in between. So I definitely look forward to hearing your comments about this one once this is released. Once it's released. I mean, obviously, it means once I get my shit together and I mix this and edit it and then put it in there and then finally post it like I'm supposed to, like a real podcaster / blogger that I make fun of. But I have to tell you, and I got to brag a little, I got myself a MacBook Air, and the thing changes the game. I was just editing everything on my phone, and now I have this little MacBook in which I get everything done in like seconds. So I really don't have any excuse. Now I really need to just step it the fuck up. I also probably need to get my ass to a wrestling training because I think I need to work on some stuff. I go to the gym, still doing that. I'm looking all right. I'm looking like a wrestler, but I just haven't really been playing the part much, it seems. However, all that will hopefully change, right? As for everything else, I have to tell you, I absolutely love doing this podcast. Whether it's me just kind of getting shit off my chest, in this little 5 minutes that I give myself that you guys probably just skip on through. But I also enjoy every conversation I have with everybody I either know, I have known for years, or people like Rob Black, who I literally met like 2 days prior to that. And since then, we've definitely, talked a lot more, and I value his opinion in wrestling, his way of thinking, from a promoter standpoint, or even from a wrestling fan standpoint. I mean, if you all heard in that part 1, we discussed him basically getting reintroduced to pro wrestling. And I can certainly relate to that when there's times when I was first starting and I just couldn't. I had to go to school or I had to work, and I didn't drive at the time. And man, life fucking can hurt you and really hit you hard. Not just with injuries, but just bills, man. So, my advice to anybody trying to get into wrestling is, yeah, it's cool, to start young. Obviously, it's the shit. Get it all out of the fucking way. However, in my experience, I got kicked to the side, that he doesn't want it, and that's not true. It's just life, dude. And but everybody handles things differently. Regardless, I think as long as you just have that safety net, just in case things get messed up. Like when I broke my ankle, I'm literally in bed, and I'm just thankful that I have a little bit of a safety net to just make sure that I'm okay. And I mean, obviously, since then it's been a little rough, for me in the last few months after. So anyway, I mean, things are always going to get bad before they get good. You put one foot in front of the other, and the other shit that everybody loves to hear. It's a motivational quote by Marilyn Monroe that some girl has tattooed on the side of her. Anyway, I'm going to cut this one off now, and I look forward to hearing all of your comments and your reactions to my conversation, part 2 with Rob Black. When you were in prison, did anybody ever take your fruit cup?
Nobody took my fucking fruit cup. I I'm pretty good. Listen, I've survived this, playing the game, and, I played the game pretty good when I was in there, man. I know how to fucking. It was tough in the beginning. It was tough in the beginning.
I can imagine.
Well, listen, not to go into a big long thing, but doing federal time is a little bit different than doing state time. I tell my friends, you do state time, and you have your local representative, rather it's your state assemblyman. There's always somebody local that a family member or somebody can bitch and moan to, or fucking petition. You know what they tell you in the federal system?
What?
They point of the President of the United States on the wall, and they go, file your complaints with him. Now get the fuck out of here, because that's who governs the federal system, is the President of the United States. That's why I can never hold anything that involves, if I ever wanted to get a gun permit, a gun license, anything like that, I can't get a certificate, a relief of disabilities, and it's basically something you get from the state that says you did your time. It's almost like getting your record expunged.
Yeah.
I can't do that. You know what I have to get? A pardon. And the only person that give me a fucking pardon is the President of the United States. So federal time is just a little different. And I sentenced, they don't have to put you by your house. So if you do state time, chances are you're going to do time at your county, at the county detention center, or you're going to go to whatever state prison is there, prison, you're in your home state. In the federal system, they could ship you wherever the fuck they want. Well, they put you certain 1,000 so miles away from your home. So what they do is they put you, if they want to fuck with you, they put you about 50 yards within that area of where they're not allowed to. So being in LA, I had Victorville, I had Lompoc, I had Terminal Island. These are three famous federal prisons, medium, low to medium, not a camp, but low to medium. Yeah. They put me at La Tuna, which is in Anthony, Texas, which is on the border of Juarez and El Paso. That's where they fucking put me. They put me as far away from my home as they leave. And then when they put me there and I went in for my intake, they looked at my paperwork and they went, "Oh, we have to redesignate you." And I went, "What do you mean?" And the guy goes, "Well, you're on here as a sex crime." And I go, "Oh, wait a minute, bro. It's conspiracy to defraud the government." He goes, "Yeah, but if you go in here deeper, it's about you which is what my case was, obscenity, with fucking transporting obscene material." And I go, "Okay." And they go, "Well, we got to redesignate you because you're going to go to the medium part of the prison." And I go, "So what the fuck does that mean?" And they're like, oh, you're going to have to go to the shoot. And I go, what? So I spent a little over a month in the shoot. So I was in gated housing with people that fucking, murder, whatever, rats, murderers. Basically, you are not allowed to be in Gen Pop for whatever reason. That's where I was. So I was in the fucking shoot. So I was in 24-hour lockdown, except for the half hour that I was allowed to go out in the yard, which was a cage inside of another cage that was outside. And I got one phone call a week, 2 showers a week with 3 other guys. And that's and 1 book a week. And that was it. Nothing. That I spent 24 hours or 23 and a half hours a day in that so they could fuck with.
Damn.
At one point I got in touch with my mother, who got in touch with my lawyer, and they basically had to track me down because nobody knew where I was. My paperwork was lost.
Yeah, it was lost on, it was lost or whatever.
So finally they let me out and I was in Gen Pop. But now they put me at 4. Now, Unit 4 was, but Unit 4, so we had 6 units. So I was in Unit 4, which was the shot caller unit of the prison. So they put all the shot callers from all the gangs in Unit 4 so they could keep an eye on all the shot callers. So you had the shot caller of the West Texas Syndicate. You had the shot caller of the Independent White Boys. You had the shot caller. So you had the shot caller in all of that unit. So I remember I walked in there with my shit, and instantly the shot caller for the Independent White Boys comes up to me because I'm white, and they get their numbers, and his name was Silver because he had long silver hair like a biker. And he goes, "Hey, boy." And I'm like, "Hey," and he goes, "Come over here." And he's like, what's your bunk? And I'm like, I'm this. And he goes, what you for? And I'm like, computer fraud. And he goes, computer fraud? And I go, yeah, computer fraud. Because when they let me out, I'm walking down the hall with the one guard, and the guard goes, "Hey, Zakari." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Good luck out there." And I go, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Well, if I was you, I wouldn't tell anybody why the fuck you're out, why you're here." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "Because none of these guys are going to understand." He is. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. So now, when he says that to me, he goes, "Computer fraud?" And he goes, "How much time you got?" And I go, "A year and a day." And he goes, "So what you're telling me is you're in a media," when he goes, "Where are you from?" And I go, "LA." And he goes, "So what you're telling me," with that Southern Texan drawl, he goes, "What you're telling me is, halfway across the country in a medium security prison doing a year and a day for computer fraud." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Your bunk's over there." And I'm like, "Well, it says my bunk." He goes, No, your bunk's over there." So now I go over to the bunk. A white boy's in the bunk. He goes to the bunk I'm supposed to go to. And now I'm on the top bunk. And under me, the West Texans. To the right of me is the shot caller, Armis, for the Pizes. And to the left of me is the shot caller for the blacks. And his name was Mobley. And they're looking at me, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And now I just climb up on the bunk, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fucking die. This is it.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
fucking dead. And, what's your name? And I go, Zakaria. He goes, Zakario. I call you Zakario. And he goes, why are you here? And I go, computer fraud. And he just looks at me. He goes, computer fraud. And he goes through the whole thing again. And, okay. So, out of the corner of my eye, I see this other Paisa that I was in the shoe with. And he was in the shoe because he was smuggling cigarettes from the waiting room, whatever. Got like 2 weeks in the shoe. So I see him come over, and he's like, hey, Zakaria. So we talk, and he goes, oh, yeah, Armis, he's good guy. And he goes, yeah, he's here for porn. And I'm like, because I had told this guy, because we were in the shoe together, and we would do our little yard work. And I like fucking just kind of was like, this is what I did. Because he seemed intelligent. He would understand it.
Right.
So he tells Armis, and now he's explaining, is this true? He goes, you challenged the government? And I'm trying to tell him, and, okay. So that starts to spread. And a kid, this young kid, Matt, part of the Independent White Boys, young kid, probably in his 30s at the time. He comes over to me, big motherfucker. And he's like, yo, man, so this is, I hear this is what you do. He goes, listen, here's the thing. People, chomo. And I'm like, what the fuck is a chomo? It's like a fucking child molester. And then, this guy Drew comes over, who is the shot caller for New Mexico, the New Mexico gang. And I still talk to this kid to this day. He's like, and he's friends with Matt, and he goes, yeah, man, cause he hears us all and they, think you're a fucking chomo. And I'm like, dude, this is what happened. So, he goes, well, here's the thing. You need to get some type of proof of this. And you probably got about a week. Or you're either going to have to check yourself in, which means you got to go to the guard and say, I'm checking myself in, and then you spend the rest of your time in the shoe. So now I go and do a fucking year in the fucking shoe. Or you just get killed out on the fucking yard somewhere. Right. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. So I call my mom. I don't know, the next day or whatever. And I go, Mom, okay, you need to send me every fucking magazine that I've been in. And I was in Details magazine. I was in Premiere magazine with Drew Barrymore on the cover. And I didn't say, oh, they're going to kill me. So I go, okay. She puts it in the mail and sends it priority mail. So I get it. And I'll never forget because you live for mail. You live for mail call. Mail call. And they call my name, and where everybody's waiting in line and everybody's getting their shit. And they call my name. I get my stuff. And I remember going back to my bunk, and I made eye contact with Drew and Matt. And they both walk over, and it was almost like all the shot callers walked over. And I take out the fucking Premiere magazine, and I go, on the cover is Tom Cruise, because he did the movie, the samurai movie that he did. Yeah. And in the little blurb, it says, the porn king that John Ashcroft plans to send to prison. And John Ashcroft was the attorney general at the time.
Yeah.
And you open up the magazine, and there I am standing there with a tracksuit on, with my arms folded, and I'm in my office, and I go, look, And then I flip the page, and there's a half-naked picture of my wife. I go, look, that's my wife. She's doing time in Minnesota. And that's where they sent her, in fucking Minnesota, bro. And then I go, look. It says Robert Zakari, porn king. So now one guy reads it, other guy reads it. And within about an hour and a half, Silver, all the, whatever. And Armis, who's my next to me, stands up and he looks at me and he goes, you federal government? And I go, yeah. And he goes, wow, you got big balls on you. And I go, I don't know, bro. I go, here I am. Fucking, here I am. And from that point forward, I didn't have to gang up.
Check your stuff in or anything.
I didn't have to do anything. So I didn't have to gang up with anybody. I was allowed to go wherever I wanted, but by not, they all told me. They said, you better watch your ass, because if you fuck up, there's nobody to discipline you, and then you'll have to go to the fucking shoe. Because if you're ganged up, if you're with the white boys or you're with the fucking paisas, and you fuck up, you do something, nobody wants a fucking gang war. Nobody wants to do anything, because then the prison gets on lockdown. Everybody loses privileges. You can't go to the commissary. So your own group disciplines you. Your own group brings you in and fucking beats the shit out of you from your fucking neck down. So they were like, nobody will discipline you because you're not ganged up with anybody. So they're like, so you be respectful, do your thing, and if anything pops off, nobody's going to expect you to get with anybody. And I was like, all right. So I was able to watch TV wherever I fucking wanted, because we didn't have TVs in our dorms. That's not federal prison. You had a TV room that was only open, and it was the Paisa TV, the fucking independent white TV, and you weren't allowed to go into those rooms, even if they invited you, because you were trading on whatever, gang you were with. But I was. As long as they let me, nobody looked at me and was like, dude, what's Zakari doing? So I'd fucking bounce from, like, TV room, and I would just, kind of like just be this little docile, and every so I would hear Zakari. And I'd want to tell us a story. They'd be like, what do you want to hear? They're like, tell us about how you guys used to piss on girls. And I'm like, all right, here we go. This is what we would do. And they would fucking, they would laugh.
Eat it up,
about the wrestling. And then somebody was, an XPW. They loved wrestling. They loved XPW. And I was also in the prison. He was in our dorm with George Jung, who was the guy in Blow. Did you ever see the movie Blow?
Yeah. Johnny Depp.
Okay. That guy, George Jung, was in our dorm. So he was serving, 40 years. So he was in our dorm. And every so, he'd be like, Zakari, come over here. And I'd be like, what's up, George? Be like, so tell me, like, what the fuck did you do to get put here? And I'm like, well, you know the story. And he's like, yeah, but wow. And I'm like, well, I originally beat the cage, rubbed their fuck. You can't do that. And I'm like, yeah. And then I, motherfucked them, and I did this, and then they tried to make me pay a fine, but I had no money left, and that really pissed them off. And the judge agreed with me and didn't put a judgment against it. And then, and he's like, wow, yeah, you really did a doozy. So here you are with real killers and real fucking, and I'm like, yeah, all right, see you later. And
that's fucking great, man. That alone is like
10.5 months in La Tuna. And I went through we had a riot. It made the news. We had a big riot. We were on lockdown for a week. That was pretty exciting. And I'll never forget, you know, and of course our dorm, because that was the shot caller dorm. They were the ones with all the demands. So I'll never forget Drew telling me, he's like, a day away from the Turtles coming in. And I go, what the fuck is that? And he goes, that's the riot squad. And I go, what the fuck you mean by that? And then, you know, they're all kind of laughing. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he goes, well, after about a week, and he goes, and we're approaching that, they're going to get sick and tired of all of this and us not coming out of our dorms and, you know, all of this, you know, outside. And he goes, and they're going to throw tear gas in here. And then they're going to come in with batons and they're going to start swinging. And I go, what the fuck? And he goes, what you're going to do, you're going to jump on top of your bunk and just cover your head. And I go, and then what? And he goes, well, hopefully you
won't fucking best.
Yeah. And I'm like, I go, I don't know about this, Drew. So that time, then there was a time where we almost had a whole fucking race war in our dorm because and it's funny. It's a funny story because that guy Silver wound up getting sent. He wound up checking himself in because he had his own personal issues with Armas, who is the shot caller for the Paisas. Armas and Mo, the shot caller for the Blacks, they get into a beef, but Silver has an issue with the Paisas personally. So while this is going on, and we're in the dorm, and you see everybody starting to kind of boot up, and I'm like kind of looking around, and I'm like, this isn't good, because that you put your fucking steel toe boots on, and now you're rock. You know, that same thing with you never get caught in the shower with your shower shoes on. That's why you go to the shower with your fucking boots. I mean, it's a whole process of the whole prison, you know, gimmick.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they're all jarring with each other. And then Silver says to Armas, well, you know, you kind of fucked up, and then Armas just, are you siding with him? And points to Mo. And Mo kind of had this look kind of like, dude, this is kind of getting weird because now all of a sudden the independent white boy shot caller is backing our play, but we ain't going to take their play. So now technically, you know, and it just turned into a weird thing, and now everybody's booting up. And I'm kind of like, this ain't cool. Everybody on the yard, the Paisas had to go to like the main co-shot caller whose name was Lucky. And they basically went to him and said, you need to fucking discipline Silver or we're going to have a big old fucking, you know, race war. And the dude that fucked with me and he check himself in. But that was one of those times where I was like, yeah, I'm going to get killed in like the whole kind of crossfire of gang activity.
Yeah.
Because obviously there were people there that didn't necessarily like me, but nobody fucked with me because I was friendly with a lot of those shot
with
callers.
Everybody else.
And nobody was going to kind of fuck with me. But dude, I'll never forget. I watched somebody practically get killed on a basketball court. So when I got to go to the yard, I would walk like 5 miles. I put my headphones on and I would walk. And in Texas, in the wintertime, it's fucking cold. It's cold as a motherfucker. And I'll never forget watching, God damn, I don't know, some of the Mexicans or it was the Indians. We had a lot of Indians there. Like, not Indian, like, Middle Eastern Indian type,
Okay. Okay.
Trail of Tears type fucking Indians. Native Americans, politically correct.
Yes.
And they were tuning somebody up, and they were fucking this dude up really bad. And I remember walking, and they're doing it kind of near the squash court on the basketball court. And as I round this corner on the track, I just kind of look, and I see it going on. And the one guy I just kind of put my head down, keep walking. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, oh, no. And I just like, okay. And I was just thinking to myself, fuck, man, I hope he doesn't think I'm going to be a fucking rat and go say something. And nothing ever came out of it. But I remember just thinking that was kind of spooky.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm like, the only thing I can compare it to is like I'm driving and then I'm just going, dude, I do a rolling stop at that stop sign and I look over and the cops, I'm like, There it is. Here it is. Can't fucking wait. Here it is. And then nothing happens. And you're just like, but like to the most less degree ever. Like,
yeah. And I think I seen the one guy at Chow one day, and nobody, he didn't say anything or didn't even give me a look like, hey, shut your fucking mouth. It was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And
like,
yeah. So those are the prison times, man. And
dude, that's a fucking experience. I feel like I
survived
half of this podcast. I'm like, man, I'm gonna make this a 2-parter, just because like of just prison, and I'm like, oh man, I mean, because the whole time I'm just sitting here like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I'm like, and you told me earlier, you're like, nah, I don't regret any of it, and I was just like, fuck.
I remember, like I said, man, the year the month I spent in the shoe. I remember every day going, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm never going to make this. I can't believe I got to do this for, a year. And then I got out of the shoe, and I remember just,
it kind of becomes the norm.
Yeah. And I remember sitting in that bunk, and, once everything kind of got sorted out, and I was, getting into a routine. It was always about a routine. You got to get into a routine. And then I remember going, man, oh my God. And then, the third month, and the sucky thing is I was there right at all the holidays. So I checked in August, the end of August. That's when I started my time. So I was there for Thanksgiving. I was there for Christmas. And
it's such a short time.
Yeah. And I just remember going, I don't know if I could do this. And, my wife, she's doing time in Minnesota, Waseca. It's right on the border of Minnesota and Canada. They fuck with her too. And I just, fuck, I don't know. And then the third month, and then I just kind of got in a routine, and you start. I was big on sleeping. That was like the thing. You try to sleep as much as you can. Try to sleep as much. You sleep your time away. You would say, I'll sleep my time away. And I got Armis, the Pisa leader, said to me, he goes, hey, Zakari, I'll get you on janitorial duties in the morning, or in our dorm, where you got to clean our dorm. He goes, but you don't work you give your so-and-so and they'll do your job, but you give them your commissary fucking money, or not commissary money, your money that you get, you get, I don't know, what, 5 cents a day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I would get up for roll calls, get up, do our count, and then we'd have to check in. So the guy would come in and go, and I would, stand there, rag, and then he would leave, and then I would go up and get in my bunk and go back to sleep and force myself to sleep until about 11 o'clock, where I get up, and we were Unit 4. We'd be last in chow, and then get up and go eat. And so then I would come back, and then we'd fuck around until 3. No, we'd go outside for rec for about an hour. We didn't have rec all day. We had monitored movement. So what that meant was, like every hour, a buzzer would go off, and all the doors would unlock. So our dorm door would unlock. The outside doors would unlock to walk through the halls.
Yeah.
And then you had a certain amount of time to get to where
around.
You had to go.
Yeah.
And then
you get locked in that area.
And if you got locked in that area,
that's where you were for the next whatever time.
You shoot. So we had a monitored movement. I mean, I was in a fucking medium. I was in a fucking medium security federal prison. I was in there with guys that were doing real time in a max that were working down. So I was in there with guys that were like, yeah, I've got 7 years left on a 31-year fucking sentence. And it was like,
yeah, like, well, I guess part of it, I'm not going to fuck this up. Like,
yeah, exactly. They get to go from the max down to the fucking medium. So, so that buzzer would go off, and then we go out for rec for an hour and a half, come back, do our mail call, then go to chow, come back, go to rec again, and then you'd watch TV until 11, and that's when you had to get back into your dorm and lights out, and they'd locked in your dorm room. And that's when, if someone was going to kill you, would be then, because you're in a dorm and it's locked, and the guards way the fuck down in his thing, and that's when they kill you in the shower.
Yeah,
and nobody finds you.
Because as you guys are moving, there's like no guards there.
Yeah,
like, they're gonna wait for you to be locked in, and then they'll make their round or whatever. Yeah.
And so,
Jesus Christ,
that's that was.
You were there for a year.
After probably about a month, I was like, I could do this. I was like, I could do it. Yeah.
Well, you lucked out with fucking magazine clips, man. Like, that's what you lucked out with. You lucked out at the end of the day. It's like, man, you owe it. You owe that year to notoriety. Yeah. Like, if you didn't have that, and then you're just like, yeah, this is my court paper. And they go, fuck that. Like, yeah, your mother wrote that. You're just like, fuck it. I'll just be in the shoe for a year. Like, and that's it. So, like, you lucked out. Like, you're like, hey, look, Drew Barrymore, Tom Cruise. And then here's me. And then they just go, hey, that guy's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. They're like, dude, look at you. You're on it. Look at you with the cigarette in your mouth and holding the trophy. I'm like, yeah, see? I'm not a fucking pedophile. I wasn't fucking kids. See? I'm not a rat.
And it's like everybody's there and everybody's like happy, and then like it all just kind of goes down, and then you just like, everybody settles and you go, look at me now. Shit. I mean, it saved your fucking ass is what it did. I mean, at least for not just, for whatever assumption they have, but it saved your ass for just literally losing your fucking mind in a cell, and staring at a wall, but I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
and, And a couple of those guys, like I said, I still talk to.
Yeah.
And I remember I would tell them all. I go, hey, man, get out and, Now, back then, it was like, it seemed like forever. I got out in 2010. So, I've been out now for a little over 10 years. But back then, it was like, I get out in 2018. It was like, what? I was like, oh, dude. I was like, well, hey, man, look me up, when you get out, and, I'll give you a job. And so I'll never forget as the years went on, man, and some of the guys, I would get hit up by them, and it'd be like, Rob. And I'd be like, hey, man, what are you doing? And I'd be like, you want a job? And they're like, no, dude, I can't leave my area for, the next X amount of time or whatever. Or I had a couple guys get out and they hit me up and they're like, dude, I showed all my friends that I was in prison with you. Graham, and I found you, and I showed them all, this is you. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking, and you wanted to fucking kill me,
this is 8 years later, man.
Yeah. I'm like, you wanted to fucking kill me, man. But yeah, so, here we are.
I think, obviously it's not something you want to experience again, but it's like, man, it's a fucking hell of a story. I mean, I'm sitting here listening, just going like, damn, I fucking love that, and I'm watching you yawn. But shit, dude. I mean, let me let you go because like I saw that old man, I'm tired routine.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I already did it. I already got you. But fuck, dude. That experience alone, that 1 year is, compared to everything we talked to, is a fucking experience. And I mean, it's a devastating experience. It's obviously more fun to talk about later. But I have to say that, out of every conversation I've had, on my show, like this has definitely been like my absolute favorite. And yeah, I do tell every one of my guests that same exact line, but I mean
exactly.
it.
No, it hurt.
No, but Rob, I appreciate you coming on here today, tonight and talking with me about like everything I didn't even think we were going to get into. I look forward. I hope to work for you more, and I look forward to just the, what we got, what you got going on, and it just even as a fan, just to watch it. So, I definitely hope I'll talk to you soon, and I'm glad nobody stole your fruit cup.
Nobody stole my fruit cup. Yeah, yeah.